At 95, Clint Eastwood is finally peeling back the curtain on his life and on the hard experiences that shaped how he views figures like Rob Reiner today. Born Clinton Eastwood Jr. on May 31, 1930, in San Francisco, he entered a world crushed by the Great Depression, where security was rare and survival ruled every decision. His family bounced around California chasing paychecks, and that unstable upbringing burned independence into him while teaching him to keep feelings locked down tight. And please hit that subscribe button. It cost you nothing, but it means a lot to me. Clint was never the loud kid in the room. He stayed low, watched closely, and spoke only when it counted. That sharp, controlled presence later became his signature on screen. Music became his early escape, especially jazz and piano, shaping his sense of timing, mood, and restraint, the same no-frills style that would later define his directing. After high school, there was no golden path waiting. Eastwood worked real jobs: lifeguard, lumberjack, gas station attendant, grinding alongside everyday workers and learning toughness the hard way. That blue-collar mindset stayed with him and never faded. Hollywood didn't welcome him with open arms either. After serving in the U.S. Army, Clint slid into acting almost by chance. Universal Pictures signed him in the mid-1950s, then dropped him just as quickly. Studio heads mocked his looks, criticized his voice, and said he had no charisma. Words meant to crush confidence. Instead, they toughened him up. Clint stayed patient, kept sharpening his craft, accepted scraps, and refused to become a studio puppet. His break came in 1959 with Rawhide, where he played Rowdy Yates for 8 long seasons. The money was steady, but creatively, he felt trapped. So he made a risky move, walking away from American TV for Italian films. That gamble rocked Hollywood. Sergio Leone's Dollars Trilogy, a fistful of dollars for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, didn't just save his career, it built a legend. Those films didn't just work, they reshaped the Western from the ground up. Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name wasn't loud or showy. He barely talked, barely reacted, yet owned every scene he stepped into. The icy stare, the slow movements, the long silences all carried more weight than pages of dialogue. He wasn't polished or heroic in the traditional sense, and that difference is exactly why audiences locked in. Eastwood quietly rewrote the image of masculinity on screen. There were no speeches, no dramatic poses, no need for validation. His power came from control, stillness, and the constant sense that something unpredictable was beneath the surface. Viewers felt that tension immediately. The success of those films didn't just bring fame, it gave him leverage. For once, Hollywood handed an actor real authority over roles, choices, and direction. When Clint returned to Hollywood in the late 1960s and through the 1970s, he wasn't negotiating anymore. He was deciding. Films like Dirty Harry turned him into a box office force. Harry Callahan was harsh, blunt, and controversial, sparking non-stop debate. Some saw the character as a reflection of public frustration. Others viewed him as excessive. Eastwood never softened his stance. He insisted his characters weren't messages, but flawed people navigating chaotic worlds. What caught critics off guard was his versatility. He refused to stay boxed in. Westerns, action films, thrillers, dramas, even comedies, he moved through all of them. Titles like Play Misty for Me, High Plains Drifter, The Outlaw Josie Wales, Every Which Way But Loose, and Escape from Alcatraz showed he wasn't just surviving the industry, he was growing within it. Off camera, Clint absorbed everything around him. He studied sets, pacing, performances, and decisions. By the time he fully embraced directing, his approach was stripped down and confident. Minimal takes, natural lighting, no excess. He trusted actors and let scenes unfold without forcing them. His movies went straight into heavy ground: aging, regret, violence, redemption, and the cost of bad choices. No flashy lectures, no spoon-feeding, just quiet hits that stayed with you long after the screen went dark. That vision hit full force with Unforgiven in 1992, a film that ripped apart the myth of the noble gunslinger and showed the damage hiding behind the legend. The industry couldn't brush him off anymore. Unforgiven earned Clint Academy Awards for Best Director and Best Picture, sealing his place as a real filmmaking heavyweight. He kept the pressure on with Mystic River, $1 Million Baby, Letters from Iwo Jima, Gran Torino, Changeling, and American Sniper, each project stacking his reputation higher and harder. The respect didn't stop in the U.S. Europe gave him 3 Caesar Awards, proving his reach was global. Add the AFI Life Achievement Award, and the message was loud. Clint Eastwood didn't just appear in film history, he helped carve it. By 2000, his worldwide status was undeniable when the Venice Film Festival awarded him the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement. This wasn't about one movie or one moment. It was recognition for decades of work built on moral gray zones, quiet emotion, and a directing voice that only sharpened with time. France didn't simply admire Eastwood, it formally honored him. In 1994, a country that treats cinema as high art named him a commander, acknowledging how deeply his work influenced culture far beyond American borders. That recognition didn't stop there. In 2007, he was awarded the Legion of Honor, France's highest civilian distinction. That placed Clint among a rare group of artists whose impact stretches across nations, languages, and generations. Taken together, these honors tell a clear story. Eastwood wasn't just successful in his time, his work proved enduring. His legacy never belonged to a single country or a single era. It continued to expand, reshaping cinema on a global scale. Away from cameras and red carpets, Clint's longest and most complex relationship was his marriage to Margaret Maggie Neville Johnson. They met in 1953, when Clint was broke, unknown, and fighting for stability with no safety net. He bounced between odd jobs, lifeguard, laborer, whatever paid the bills, while acting dreams kept slipping away. Maggie was grounded, thoughtful, and steady, a sharp contrast to Clint's uncertain future. She brought balance when everything else felt unstable. They married on December 19, 1953, beginning a partnership that would last more than 3 decades. In the early years, financial stress was constant, and success felt distant. Through that uncertainty, Maggie remained strong. She carried emotional weight while Clint faced rejection after rejection. When Rawhide finally broke through in 1959, life changed fast. Fame, money, and attention arrived together, along with pressure. As Clint's star surged with Sergio Leone's Man with No Name films and later Dirty Harry, the marriage came under relentless strain. The spotlight didn't just reshape his career, it reshaped their entire world. As Clint's career surged, the pace never eased, and that shift quietly reshaped life at home. His workload grew heavier, his independence more pronounced, and the balance in the marriage slowly tilted. Maggie kept her distance from Hollywood's noise, choosing privacy and a grounded routine over premieres and headlines. The divide between Clint's public image and Maggie's private world widened with time. Their marriage was far from easy. Long periods apart became routine, and Clint's infidelities were widely known, something he later acknowledged without excuses. Even so, they remained legally married for years. It wasn't denial, but complexity, obligation, and a shared sense of responsibility that kept them connected. They raised 2 children together. Kyle Eastwood, born in 1968, found his own path as a respected jazz musician. Allison Eastwood, born in 1972, moved into acting and filmmaking. Maggie became the anchor, focusing on consistency and doing everything she could to keep the children shielded from Hollywood's chaos. In 1978, after 25 years, Maggie and Clint formally separated, though the separation did not immediately close the chapter. The divorce stretched until 1984, showing just how intertwined their lives and finances had become. When it was finalized, it sent ripples through Hollywood. The settlement reflected Clint's immense success and Maggie's decades standing beside him during his climb. Even after the split, Maggie Johnson's role in Clint Eastwood's life remained significant. She was there before fame arrived, endured the pressure once it did, and helped raise their children away from excess. The relationship was imperfect, but it shaped Clint's understanding of family, responsibility, and the real cost of ambition. Now, at 95, Clint Eastwood speaks with a rare directness. Looking back on more than 70 years in Hollywood, he reflects not only on his own path, but on an industry in flux, weighing the figures who came to symbolize those changes, including people like Rob Reiner, through a lens formed by experience rather than image. When Clint Eastwood is asked about Rob Reiner, there is no anger, no cheap jabs, no bitterness coming through. His tone stays measured and reflective, rooted in a deeper concern that Hollywood has slowly drifted away from what it once stood for. "I've never had a problem with Rob as a filmmaker," Eastwood says. "He's talented. You don't make the movies he's made without understanding character and timing." Eastwood gives credit without hesitation. He openly respects Reiner's early films, projects built on humor, warmth, and genuine human connection. To Clint, those movies came from a period when Hollywood valued craft over messaging. Stories were meant to connect people, not divide them into sides. What unsettles Eastwood isn't Reiner alone, but the cultural shift surrounding him. Somewhere along the line, the business stopped being about curiosity, Eastwood reflects. It became about certainty, and certainty is dangerous in art. In his view, Reiner now reflects a Hollywood circle that struggles with disagreement, often confusing conviction with moral authority. Clint draws a clear boundary between that approach and his own philosophy. "I never believed my job was to tell people what to think," he says. "My job was to show people who they are." Even his most debated films avoided preaching. Whether westerns, war stories, or quiet character studies, Eastwood trusted audiences to reach their own conclusions. According to Clint, the divide between him and Reiner isn't political, but philosophical. "Rob wants to win arguments," Eastwood says. "I want to ask questions." He points back to a time when Hollywood thrived on creative tension, when artists with opposing views could still work together without forcing consensus. That environment feels distant now. "There was a time when you could disagree and still respect each other," Eastwood recalls. Today, disagreement is often treated as a personal failing rather than part of growth. In Clint's eyes, Reiner's outspoken activism mirrors a wider trend, entertainers confusing volume with virtue and certainty with truth. At 95, Eastwood isn't looking for approval. He's speaking from decades of experience, reflecting on an industry that, in his view, left something essential behind. Moral certainty closes doors that storytelling should leave open, Eastwood says, not with anger, but like a warning that's been earned the hard way. He's careful not to frame himself as a victim either. "Nobody's silencing me," he says. "I've had my say." What truly worries him is the next generation of filmmakers, the ones who feel trapped inside approved opinions. "They're scared to be honest," he adds, and to Clint, fear smothers creativity fast. "Fear has never made good art," he says without hesitation. When asked whether Rob Reiner even hears this criticism, Eastwood pauses. "I don't know," he admits. "People hear what they want to hear." He makes one thing clear: this isn't personal. It's about a system that rewards outrage instead of insight. Rob didn't create that system, Eastwood says, but he's comfortable inside it. At 95, Clint has no interest in settling scores. His tone stays calm, almost detached. Life's too short for grudges, he says. What matters now isn't awards or box office numbers. It's freedom. The freedom to tell stories without filters or approval stamps. Honestly, Eastwood adds, I'd rather make a movie that makes people uncomfortable than one that tells them they're perfect. Eastwood's truth about Rob Reiner isn't explosive. It's heavy. It's the quiet frustration of an artist watching an industry trade curiosity for conformity. Hollywood used to be a place where outsiders belonged, Eastwood says. Now everyone's trying to prove they're on the inside. And to Clint, that shift matters far more than any single name ever could. If you like this breakdown and want more stories like it, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.